Okay. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Kim, and I am an addict.
Hi, Kim.
Let's start this meeting with a moment of silence in the Serenity prayer. Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. All right. This is the 10, 11, and 12-step workshop. Miss Edith and Mr. Aziz will be our speakers. Do you guys have the copies of the readings? Because they're not up here.
Right there. I think they're right there.
How about that? So, would an addict like to volunteer to read who is an addict?
Bart, I'm an addict.
Hey, Bart.
Most of us don't have to think twice about this question. We know our whole life and thinking was centered in drugs in one form or another. The getting and using and finding ways and means to live, to get more. We live to use and use to live. Very simply, an addict is a man or a woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We're people in the grip of a continuing and progressive illness whose ends are always the same. Jail, institution, and death.
Thank you so much, Bart. And can I get a volunteer to read what is the NA program?
I'm Andy, I'm an addict.
Hey, Andy.
I'm gonna put my glasses on.
Hey, on your head,
On your
bud.
hat.
I can have to find
We're
my way
always
around.
looking for mine that.
What is Narcotics Anonymous program? NA is a non-profit fellowship or society of men and women whom drugs have become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly, help each other stay clean. This is a program of complete abstinence from all drugs. There is only one requirement for membership: the desire to stop using. We suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourselves a break. Our program is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We are not affiliated with any other organizations. We have no initiation fees or dues, no pledges to sign, no promises to make to anyone. We are not connected with any political, religious, or law enforcement groups, or under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion. We're not interested in what or how much you used or who your connections were, what you have done in the past, how much or how little you have, but only in what you want to do about your problem and how we can help. The newcomer is the most important person at any meeting because we can only keep what we have by giving it away. We have learned from our group experience that those who keep coming to our meetings regularly stay clean.
Thank you, brother.
And may I have? No. Okay, so why does it not have? Oh, no. I was looking for this part. That's at the end. But it doesn't say when I'm supposed to read this. So I'm going to go ahead and read this now because it's very important. This is the statement to members regarding the press. As our 11th tradition says, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. The primary purpose of our public relations effort is to tell the story of Narcotics Anonymous and what our program offers to the still suffering addict. Members of the press are often attracted to our convention, and we welcome their interest. However, we do not disclose our last names in the media as identifiable members of Narcotics Anonymous. If members of the press approach you, please direct them to a committee member or committee chair. Statement to the media. If any members of the media are present, we ask you to contact a member of the program committee or visit the registration table. This is a food statement per Holiday Inn. Please do not bring outside food into the convention area. And their mask policy. Masks are recommended in all public areas and in the meeting workshop rooms. Masks are available at hospitality and registration. Okay. Welcome. So, oh my goodness. So I'm supposed to provide a brief personal share. So like I said, my name is Kim and I am an addict. And I had several decades in the career of destroying my life and others. I had multiple substances, went through multiple cities, multiple men, allowed multiple children to be taken, multiple homes, multiple jobs, multiple cars, multiple jailcations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the day that I decided to get clean, I didn't decide to get clean. I decided I couldn't do what I was doing anymore. Let's get that straight, because I didn't know what that looked like. But I had a pretty low bottom. I had been out on a 4-day binge with a bunch of men, doing whatever it took to maintain my high. On that 4-day binge, I never changed clothes. I never showered. I ate like a bag of chips, drank as much alcohol as I could find, and maybe a soda. Didn't brush my teeth, didn't change my nasty underwear, none of that. And I woke up, and I can still remember how my hair and my skin felt, and how I smelled, and my mouth, and how the dirty, nasty, overflowing ashtrays and the paraphernalia and the empty alcohol containers everywhere. And I was like, if this is all there is, I'm done. I cannot do this anymore. And how do I just find somebody that's got enough of something that I can just go? And I swear I heard a voice that said, Kim, you don't want to die. You just don't want to live like this. And I made a phone call. And that was a little over 10 years ago. And when I made that phone call and I first got taken somewhere to start my journey to recovery, all that I wanted out of life, and I am not exaggerating, all that I wanted out of life was to sleep every day, to eat every day, to shower and put on clean clothes every day, to have electricity and water every day, and to wake up in the bed that I was supposed to be in. And I'm proud to say that because of the program of Narcotics Anonymous, which my higher power introduced me to so that Narcotics Anonymous could introduce me to my higher power, and my network of people, that I woke up this morning in bed with my husband, not yours. Got up, made coffee because I had water and electricity, fed my dogs because I can take care of something else today. Had a bite to eat, turned on the TV, sat in my recliner with the blinds open, took a shower and put on clean clothes, and even had a vehicle, a driver's license, insurance and registration gas money to get from Bolivar to Memphis. And there's no way that that would have happened without Narcotics Anonymous. So, at this time, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Aziz.
Hey guys, my name's Aziz. I'm an addict. I'm grateful to be here. I'm glad you guys asked me to come and speak today. I don't like doing public speaking, and it's just something that I'm told to do. And whenever I'm asked, I do it. And that's what y'all taught me here. I got some notes because I get real nervous in front of folks. I don't know, the dope and the alcohol used to cover all that up, and they don't know more, and that's okay. But I had somebody help me write some of this down. I just want to share this. I thought this was pretty good. I also believe that today, everything happens for a reason, and I had to start looking into 10, 11, and 12. I've worked these and, I'm living them, but, I don't always look into them. And I was like, oh, okay. So I needed to, because before I share my experience, strength, and hope, I don't always, have everything categorized in my head, about what's where. So I had to kind of look this up. So this kind of helped me get my stuff in order, too. So really, I appreciate this committee asking me to, come and speak so that way I can look at this stuff. It helps me, and I was talking to my wife on the trip here, and I was like, it's funny that what I'll do for others, but not myself, because I need to be looking at this for myself, but I haven't. But, it is just what it is. And, we wrote on here, in step 10, we practice all of step 4 through 9 in our daily lives. In 11, we use prayer meditation to exercise and strengthen our 6th step. In 12, we learn how to learn to live happily with others. Step 10, talking about we continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, we promptly admitted it. I personally don't, at the end of the day, take that worksheet and write down, everything that I've done wrong. I just don't do it, And, but today, after living the steps and working the steps for a while, when I do something wrong, man, I feel it in my heart. I know when I've done something wrong, but does that keep me from doing something wrong? Not always, And I usually I barrel through a lot of that stuff, and then I'm like, oh shit. Or, when I tell a lie or do things that I shouldn't do. But, I've gotten a whole lot better about changing what I do. When I do look at that inventory, I look at, what my wrongs are, and promptly admit things, On my trip here, I stayed at my sister's house. She's not one of us, and I've made her probably pretty sick from my use and stuff in the past. And we just don't see things eye to eye, and I could tell from last time what I'd done, talked about some kind of politics stuff, and I had to make those things right. Yesterday I brought it up to her. I was like, hey, look, I said these things, so I shouldn't have done that, and, and make them better. I could have done it on the phone, but, it wasn't the same, and when I saw her face to face, and I could do it, And I do that in all things today, because I feel that gut feeling, that, hey, I shouldn't have done this or I shouldn't have done that. Because before, it didn't matter, and I didn't really care, what other people thought or what other people, really thought about anything, how I acted. And today, to a certain extent I do, because, I care today, and I love. And my intentions are not to hurt others, to live a better life, to do things differently. And, and all those things that, what I share with you is everything that I learned from y'all. Because, I talked to a friend of mine, when I first came in here, living the way I lived and doing the things that I did, I didn't really know how to have a normal conversation with anybody, because I talked about cutting dope, selling dope. That's all I did. When I came in here, I was getting acclimated back to rural life, and people. I was like, people actually talk about their families. And then, when I see you, the next time I see you, we pick up where we left off, and I actually remember that stuff, and I didn't know how to do any of that, and if I did, I don't remember it, and we talk about the weather, we talk about good stuff, and it's just nice, me and my wife were out in California a couple of years ago, and I was telling her, I was like, I did this there, and she was like, she doesn't use, and maybe she doesn't use drugs, because her closet is full of, whatever. But she made a comment to me, and she said, you can make new memories. And, so now when we go back to California, we talk about, hey, last time we went here, last time we did there. And those are the things, my life has changed over the years, over, having to work those steps and doing things differently, and that I thank y'all, and, the next thing talking about, 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. For that part, I've been through different aspects of God. I'm just really glad. I'm originally from Bangladesh, and I was born and brought up in a Muslim culture. So it was, if you drink, you're going to hell. So I was like, if I'm going to hell anyway, screw drinking, I'm going to do everything else, and that's just how I looked at things, and after I came in here, I'm just so grateful that, y'all give me a God of my understanding, a loving, caring God. And one of my friends told me, make the characteristics you want in a God and make that your God. And man, it's so awesome to have that God, and, as time has gone by and, I've picked up different things, I've made different things my God, to be honest with you, money, clothes, women, and and I've also switched religions and we had a pretty big loss about 5 years ago. We lost our little girl, she lived for 3 days and then we lost her. And after that, it was like, shit, now what, because you live a good life, you do things differently, you treat people good, and then, this happens. And, the book that, I was looking into, it says, God will take care of you, da, da, da. And, I was just so grateful that, y'all gave me that God that I have, because that's what I just sit back to. It's a loving, caring God. And, I'm real grateful for that because, how do you bring out the positives in that? It's really hard, and, I see today that, that little girl, she was still with me for 3 days, with us for 3 days. And man, in those 3 days, she has totally changed my heart. I care so much more and I love so much more. And, I couldn't have done that without that, and I wouldn't have these feelings that I have today, without y'all. Because, everything else before was just numbing my pain and getting what I could get from you, taking what I could take from you. And that's what my life consisted of, and I don't know, today, that stuff is really, really, important to me, how I treat you, how I talk to you. And, I'm not perfect at it. I mess up a lot at it. But, I try to change those things. Like, if it goes back to 10, I look at my part in things, what can I do things differently, and, our goal in life between me and my wife is, to do those things, because if we try again, we might lose my wife. And I told her, I was like, look, I don't have this whole harem and all this property I got to leave some kids somewhere. So I was like, we're going to travel and we're going to, try to do good things in life. And what an opportunity that is, And, and this thing, talking about praying only for God's will and the power to carry that out, and that comes through, with meditation and prayer. I've really gotten into meditation the last couple of years, and that has really changed my heart. I feel a lot more calmer because I don't know if it was the drugs or just the way I was built, and I'm just all over the damn place, even with medication, and and that meditation helps me, it helps center me and to, focus on what I need to focus on. And what that is, I don't really know, and I think it just comes through the process of the meditation, and sometimes, talking about, prayer, I've had a hard time praying to God lately, just being honest, so I just pray to my higher power and, and just things work out the way they do, and I had a real good Thanksgiving because me and my sister don't see things eye to eye, and, and we didn't go into an arguing match or or anything like that. And to me, that's good because she's the only other family member that I have left. So it's real important that, I keep that relationship with her. And she's also terminally ill. And, And, you would think that in my head, I work these steps, I do these things so I could, control my mouth. It don't happen. And especially with family, I spit this out, spit that out, but, I can always go back like that thing says, make things different, make things better. And I was telling my wife, I was like, that's one good thing I like today that, that when we left today, we left in a caring mode between me and her, and I'll get to take her to her next cancer appointment, and as her brother, because I remember there was a time when she didn't want me in her house because of what I did and how I lived, she was just like, you can go stay somewhere else, but you can't stay here, and this Thanksgiving, I called her and I was like, well, what are we gonna do for Thanksgiving? She was like, well, I'm not cooking. And I was like, well, that's great. I was like, Chinese places are open. We can go somewhere. I don't know if that was a not so invitation for me not to go up there. But, today I look at it, she's my only family. I was like, whether she like it or not, I'm coming, and we went up there. She, cooked this big spread and stuff. And I was just like, look, you weren't supposed to cook this. And she was like, well, I wanted to. She was like, Mom would have wanted us to. And those are the things, man, I get to, really live through today, through this program, to have a relationship, with her and to actually care and do those good things, and, God's will, being honest, a lot of times I don't know what God's will is, I learn a lot from my mistakes for me, personally, and a lot of times I learn what not to do and then I see God's will. And, maybe I learn my lessons that way, maybe I don't, but that seems to be a pattern for me, and I don't know, and that's okay with me today, and as long as I'm not hurting others and doing things, that are out of my comfort zone, and but I do pray to God, to give me that strength to live better, to be better, and on 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to others and practice these principles in all our affairs in all our affairs. To me, that spiritual awakening, it wasn't no burning bush or anything, I think just not doing the things I did, and living the way I was living, I get to do different things and be, a different person. I've got a kind of a story to share with y'all about my mom. I wasn't supposed to be born. They went from Bangladesh, and they said that you can't have any more kids. So they went to this priest or something, and he said, well, take these mustard seeds, and I've said these prayers over them as I tell you to take them. Then you'll have a son. She went back a year later, and he did. He just told her that you didn't do what I asked you to before even talking to her, and said, so take these mustard seeds, don't come back and see me, and you'll have a kid, and I was born in some ways, I get to live 2 lives in one lifetime. I did a lot of really bad things, when I used, against my will, and today, I get to change those things around. And man, that's all of y'all, because y'all helped me get to this part of life, because I didn't have this, and I think that's about all I've got. I told her I was a real short speaker, so I'm gonna hand it over to my buddy here. Thanks a lot. Love y'all.
Thank you so much, Aziz. All right, and now we have Edith A.
Good afternoon, family. My name is Edith.
Hey,
Hey. And I have the disease of addiction. Real grateful to be asked to share at the VRC this year. My topics are step 10, 11, and 12. But before I go into the topic, may we please take a moment of silence for the sick and suffering addicts, for the babies who are yet to be born with this affliction called addiction. Take a moment of silence for the mother, the daughter, the husband, the children, the grandparents that say a silent prayer that no hurt, harm, or danger comes to their loved ones while they're out in active addiction. Take a moment of silence for the young girl that may have to prostitute herself tonight just for a pass off the pipe or to find her drug of choice. The son, the young man that may have to compromise his integrity, his safety, and his livelihood to be wanted, to be needed, to be accepted, and to experiment in a life that he had never known, and a life that it finds difficult for him to come back from because he falls in the cracks of the society, and in the meantime, he ends up with a disease called addiction. Take a moment of silence for the drug dealer that step on the neck of the weak while he try to gain the world and lose his soul. Take a moment of silence for me so that I can put my ear to God's mouth and hear what he would have for me to give to you as it pertains to step 10, 11, and 12 of the program of Narcotics Anonymous. Thank you. Once again, my name is Edith, and I'm real grateful to be here. I'm recovering from the disease of addiction on a daily basis. And I don't care who know it, just as long as I don't forget it. Like Homer was mentioning earlier, it's very, very vital, it's very important that I remember that I do suffer from the disease of addiction. You know, the 10th step for me is a step of repetition. I have to continue to repeat the 10th step on a daily basis. I have to continue to keep the focus on me and not on you. And if I don't call myself out on my mess, then you will. Because there was a time when my rights were wrong and my wrongs were right. And I really didn't care about how I treated people and how people treated me. I really didn't care about the outcome. I didn't care about the situation. I did not care about the circumstances. All I cared about is that I needed to have my needs met, and I needed to get one more at any means necessary, and it just didn't matter how I went about doing it. I never realized how many other people that I hurt along the way. I never realized those that suffered at the hands of my choices and decisions, the chaos and confusion that I brought into other people's lives. So I have to make sure on a daily basis that I keep the focus on me. I have to make sure that on a daily basis, based on the evidence of what I was taught through the program of Narcotics Anonymous in the first 9 steps, that I have to keep that up front. I have to have something to measure my life with. I have to have something tangible that I can measure my conscious contact with God. I have to continue to do a self-examination. See, I started that self-examination in the 4th step. But what that did was it showed me the causes and conditions and the character defects and my shortcomings. But when I do that 10th step, it's for the here and now. It's not for what I did in the past. That's what that 4th step was for. To illuminate those things, to show me a pattern, to show me a behavior, to show me the vicious cycle, to show me the people that are harmed, and to show me how to find my way out of that dark place. And give me some humility and some integrity so that I will be able to share my journey and my story and my experience with someone else. That means I had to practice some humility. So on a daily basis, I have to look at me. I have to look at the fact and ask myself, am I procrastinating? Am I becoming lackadaisical in this process? Am I becoming complacent? Am I still selfish and self-centered? Is it still all about me, still wanting control? Do I respect others? Do I have some self-respect? Do I live a life of integrity and dignity? Am I being productive? Or am I being counterproductive? Am I still willing to live a life of chaos and confusion and gossip and backstabbing? It helps me to check my motives. Because in the past, I had a lot of hidden agendas. Because once again, it was all about me. But the God of my understanding didn't get me clean for me. I realized that he got me clean for you. But in order for me to stay clean, I have to continue to do what's necessary. Because it was hard for me to get clean, but it's even harder for me to stay clean. When I first came into the program of Narcotics Anonymous, I surrendered out of desperation. I didn't come in here willing, with honesty and brimming with hope. I came in because I was desperate. And I realized that I could no longer live the life that I had chose to live. See, I cried and prayed and prayed and cried 10 years before I was actually ready to surrender. 10 years before I finally was able to admit out loud to my most inner self, my heart of hearts, that I had enough. So I would cry and I would pray and I would walk to the drug spot. I would cry and I would pray and I'd still leave the comforts of home and go sit in the basement on the crate. Because I just didn't know how to stop. I was tired, but I wasn't sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I look at that today. What am I tired of today? Because the program of Narcotics Anonymous told me about the yets. And today I'm not worried about the yets. I worry about the agains. I don't want to be homeless again. I don't want to be called bitches, skeezers, hoes, and hypes again. I don't want to be beat down and raped again. I don't want to be abused and misused again. I don't want to feel hopeless and helpless and in despair and depression and petty frustrations again. So I do what's necessary to help me to avoid those same feelings and emotions of the past. I stay in my here and now. And I realize now that when I've done something to hurt or harm another individual, sometimes it may be something that I didn't even realize, and sometimes it could be intentional. But either way, I'm able to take a look at that today and call a thing a thing. And I'm able to admit the fact when I've done someone some wrong, not for them, not for the individual, but for myself. For my own personal development, for my own spiritual growth and maturity, for my own self-awareness, for my own self-control, for my own discipline, for my own personal growth. I have to mature in this process, and nobody can do it for me. And that's what the 10th step does for me. When it comes down to my 11th step of sorting through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God, praying only for His will for me and the power to carry that out, I thank God that I finally got to a point that I do seek God's will for me. I hear a lot of people talk about they didn't want their mother's God. I thank God that He revealed Himself to my mother and my grandmother way before I knew that I would need Him. I thank God that all the times when I was out there hoeing and prostituting and stealing and lying and being a fake, a phony, and a fraud, that my mother and my grandmother had enough belief and enough faith and enough trust to call on God and ask him to cover and keep me while I was out there foolish in the midst of the horrors of my addiction. My mother stayed on her knees, and I thank her. And all the time when she was telling me, no matter what you do, you're going to still be my baby. But I've turned you over to the hands of the Lord. So since I can't keep you out them streets, I'm going to trust God while you in them. Thank you, Jesus. And for her telling me that caused me to be able to finally hit a bottom. All my options were gone. My bridges had been burned. Relationships had been destroyed. And I didn't have nobody else to lean on but this committee that was between my ears. And it always gave me misinformed information because that's what I always got from a lot of misinformed people. So by the time I got in here and started to do the things that was necessary, that was painful, that caused me to be pulled outside of my comfort zone, that always caused me resistance because what the book told me was something contrary to what I wanted to do because I thought I knew what was best for me. So I started to search. You know, the program of Narcotics Anonymous is a wonderful program. But there are some things that the program of Narcotics Anonymous just can't do for me. The program of Narcotics Anonymous don't wake me up in the middle of the night. The program of Narcotics Anonymous don't breathe breath into my body and cause the blood to run warm in my veins. The program of Narcotics Anonymous was a conduit. It was a vessel. It was an instrument that I still use to this very day. But I'm not confused because, see, I sought the God of my understanding, and he's strong and mighty. And there's nothing that I can ever go through or have to endure that he won't give me the strength, the grace, and the mercy to do it. I thank God that he took a hoe and made her a housewife.
Amen.
I thank God that he took a mess and he gave me a message. I thank God that all the times in the past when I was on my knees for prayer, he covered me. Because during that time, I was too busy praying on somebody instead of learning how to pray for somebody. I'm learning how to quiet the mind intentionally. I'm learning how to have balance and build on the foundation that he allowed me to have. I surrendered when I came in, once again out of desperation. But today, see, when I surrendered like this, with my hands up. My hands was up to prove that I was no longer holding a weapon of any kind. My hands are up. Now, since I'm in the 11th step, I submit. I come to God in total submission. And my hands are like this. Because now he can put something in my hands that I can use. If they like this, he can't put nothing in my hands. But when they're like this, he can place something in my hands of value. He can place some tools in my hands. And I can use those tools to impact a life. I can use those tools to bring somebody out of dark places, out of some deep valleys. I thank God that now when I'm seeking him, I have to go beyond the program of Narcotics Anonymous. I have to go beyond the basic text. I have to find out what his will is for me, and this is just for me. And I'm not talking about religion for anybody that just may get it confused. I'm talking about a relationship. See, when I want to act out, and I have to look at my ninth and my 10th step because of the behavior and the causes and conditions and the choices and decisions that I make. God corrects me. He disciplines me. He lets me know to get back in my lane. And I thank him. I'm grateful. I'm so grateful that he don't allow me to do what I want to do. He don't allow me to mistreat nobody. He's giving me a heart of compassion. He don't allow me to walk over people today because he brings back to my remembrance what it was like to be misused and to be abused. I'm so grateful for the 11th step. I'm grateful for the 11th step. He gave me a willingness to forgive. He gave me a willingness to step outside of myself and help another individual with no ulterior motives and no hidden agendas. He gave me a willingness and a permission to heal from some wounds that were deep. He delivered me out of a helpless, hopeless state of mind, body, and spirit. I'm grateful for the 11th step. This is a spiritual program. He has touched my spirit, man, and I'm glad about it. I'm not the person I used to be. I'm glad about it. I don't have the residue of the addiction on my life today. And I'm sure glad about it. I don't cuss and fuss and act like I used to. Every now and then I may get beside myself, but he'll pull me back in order. Because he's a God that's not the author of confusion. And once again, this is not about religion. I thank him that I don't have the prayers of God help me anymore. I can pray with purpose. And I can get a prayer through. He answers. I'm grateful for that. That's not to say he wasn't answering back then, because he was was answering my mother's prayers. He was answering my grandmother's prayers. And he heard my prayers. But he didn't answer my prayers until I got ready. So I thank God that my mother's prayers covered me. And my mother's prayers kept me. My mother's prayers introduced me to God. And when I finally got ready that I wanted to learn who he was for myself, that's when he started showing up. That's when he started revealing who he is in my life. That's when he started to show me that all the times when I was out there in an active addiction, that he was keeping me, covering me, protecting me, looking out for me. Because of the promise that he made my mother to keep me. The 12th step shows my gratitude of being kept. See, I don't have to be in a meeting 7 days a week to show my gratitude, because a grateful addict won't use. You know, they said that people that regularly make meetings are the ones that stay clean. Well, I care to differ. The program of Narcotics Anonymous tells me in the literature that it is only through understanding and application of these spiritual principles that this thing gonna work for me. So that means I don't have to be in a meeting 7 days a week. That means that I stay connected to a source and I practice the tools that was put in my hand. And I use them to the best of my ability. And 23 years later, I'm still utilizing those tools and some more that I've picked up along the way. Narcotics Anonymous has been a blessing to me and for me. The fellowship has been a blessing to me and for me. But like I said, everything has its limitations, but God does not. So therefore, I understand and realize that the opinion of man has no comparison to the power of the God that I serve, and that I've come to know in this program, in this process, while on this journey. And that's just for me. And that's the beauty of sharing your story, because your story is your story. And it's up close and it's personal and it's live and it's living color, and nobody can tell it like you. Nobody in this room can recover for me, and I can't recover for nobody in this room. You have to make a conscious decision on that's what you want to do. And then it's not about the quantity, but it's more about the quality for me. What quality of life do I have today? Do I have some peace and some serenity, some balance, some integrity, some dignity? I can truly say I do. I can truly say that I do. So I give back what was so freely given to me, but not just to the sick and suffering addict. I give back to society because I was a menace to society. I give back to a lot of mothers and children Because I went into their house and turned their house into a dope spot. And I used their addiction against them. And I caused them to go out and do whatever it was they had to do in order for them to come back and get what I had. And I took what I had and I used it against them. And I used it to my advantage. And I caused a lot of people to end up being homeless, being evicted from their homes. And a lot of dope dealers say, hey, I ain't make them buy the drugs. Well, guess what? I played a big part in hindering society. I played a big part in a lot of children and youth falling between the cracks of society because they've been up all night, because they couldn't go to sleep, because I was in their room and I was cutting up, bagging up, and weighing up and selling dope out their house. So therefore, they had to sleep on the pallet, they had to sleep on the couch, they had to sleep on the floor. And by the time they got to school, they was too tired to focus, too tired to comprehend, too tired to study, and they end up falling behind in their lessons. I played a part in that. I played a part when a woman and a man end up in domestic violence relationships. Because when I give him the bag, I know he going to spend every dime he have in his pocket, and then he going to look at her. And when she get tired of giving him all what she got, she going to go get hers and go somewhere else and use. And when he find out about it and he catch her on the street, he going to beat her down. I played a part in that. I ain't confused about it. I can own up to that. I can accept that. And I can make amends on a daily basis. So now when I'm in that 12th step of having that spiritual awakening, I have to give back to society at large. Not just the still suffering addict. I'm still suffering. When they say that the newcomer is the most important person at any meeting, I'm the newcomer in many areas. Because there are many areas that I have to endure and experience, and I can't pick up, and I can't run, and I can't escape, and I can't rationalize, and I can't justify outrageous nonsense. I got to show up. They say life shows up. No, life don't show up. I have to show up because life goes on. It was me that always wanted to escape reality. It was me that always wanted to find a trap door. It was me that always wanted to self-medicate. It was me that never could show up. I was always somewhere hiding out. I'm learning how to show up in the 12th step. I'm learning how to see a man on the street holding a sign and not turn away an active door if he's invisible and he's not there. Because I can remember when I was on the street. I wasn't holding no sign, but I was on the street. And I needed a place to stay. And I needed a warm bed. And I needed something to eat. And anytime I received those benefits, I had to prostitute myself and compromise myself in order to get it. But sometimes I just didn't want to do that no more. Sometimes I just wanted to be able to get that money that I hustled and go and spend it for 4 hours just for me to be able to regroup, just for me to be able to be by myself and gather my thoughts and find out what my next move gonna be, just so I can try to hear a God that can talk to me and give me some guidance and direction. But they would say, she ain't gonna do nothing but go and get high with it. So now when I see people on the street like that, standing by the bus stop or standing by the expressway and the light is red, I roll my window down and stick my hand out the window and give him what I got. Because they ain't not always out there trying to get high. They may have been in some situations or circumstances do beyond their control and just trying to find a safe place to lay their head up, a meal for their children for tonight. See, I try not to be judgmental today and self-righteous today, because who am I to throw stones? And I was living in a glass house. See, that's what my 12th step is. I'm not just helping the sick and suffering addict. helping everybody and anybody that God places in my way. Anybody that is connected to me in any kind of way, any encounter that we may have, guess what? You better be careful on how you treat people, because you just may be entertaining an angel. You know, they said that the same toes that you step on going up can be connected to the ass you might have to kiss on your way down. So therefore, I don't treat people the way I want to treat people. I treat people the way God told me to treat people. And that's the way they deserve to be treated, with dignity, honor, and respect. I don't try to measure nobody else's recovery with my yardstick. Because just like the same grace and mercy that was given to me and still renewed every day, I try to extend it to you too. I don't have to like you, but I do show love. And I thank God, because it's only between the 10th, 11th, and the 12th step that's working in my life on a daily basis, only if I decide that I want to apply it. I can read the book all day long. I can quote the book all day long. That's the reason why I didn't bring the book. It's because I want to tell you what God has did for me, the God of my understanding. And guess what? What he did for me, you reaping the benefits of it. How about that? I'm no longer prostituting. I'm no longer breaking in cars. I'm no longer breaking in somebody's house. I'm no longer selling dope. I'm no longer cussing somebody out. I'm no longer going into the stores and picking up petty thefts. I'm no longer doing a lot of things that I used to do. I'm showing up now. I'm being addressed as Missing Ma'am. People are trusting me with the keys to their establishment, the thief that I used to be. I'm able to go into the jails and the prisons through the front door and have a hostage picture just in case they have a shakedown or a lockdown. They can get me out of there. My life has changed because I've changed. God has regulated my mind and has changed my heart. And that's what this program has done for me. It created in me a clean heart and renewed the right spirit in me. That's my clean time. The cleansing of my heart. That's my clean time. The renewing and the regulation of my mind. Because I used because of the way I felt. I thank God that I can go on the 12-step call. I can hear my phone ringing early in the morning. And just because I'm asleep, I can still turn over and answer the phone. Because I know today that people don't call your phone 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning unless it's an emergency. See, I used to call people and they look at my number and they wouldn't answer. And I really needed somebody to listen. I may not have always needed no advice. I just needed somebody on the other side to listen. And I remember what that's like. So I answer the phone. I try not to give people advice, but I share my experience, strength, and hope based on the situation and the circumstances. And sometimes I just sit in silence because all you need to sometimes do is hear yourself say something out loud and you can come up with your own answers and your own final decision. See, it hurted me and it bothered me when I didn't have nobody to listen when I was small, when I was being molested. Nobody listened to me. Nobody heard me. And what they saw was a facade. So when they would say, "Are you okay?" I would say, "Yeah." And whenever I felt the need to go to an authority figure and tell them what was going on, they would cut me off in the middle of the conversation and shut me down and say, "You talk too much. Who you think you is?" And I look at them and I look at the floor and say, nobody. And I walk through life acting like a nobody. I walk through life allowing people to mistreat me and misuse and abuse me because I thought I was a nobody. I thank God that I'm somebody in his eyes. And I sought him and he told me that I was wonderfully and fearfully made. That I had purpose. And that everything that I went through as a child, being molested and beat down and child prostitution and homelessness and everything I went through was for a purpose. And that now he uses it for me to be a blessing. For me to be able to see the signs of a small child being molested by a pedophile. For me to be able to see the signs of addiction, domestic violence, mental illness, and have compassion and understanding. Because today, I live by trying to understand rather than to be understood. I thank God for the 10th and 11th and 12th step. I don't always get it right. But I'm so grateful that today I don't have to always get it wrong either. Today I make a conscious decision to do something different. It's not by chance, it's by choice. The God of my understanding won't let me step outside of the realm of how he works because he's a God that's decent and in order. So when I want to cuss somebody out, and oftentimes I do, he'll stop me right in the midst of that thought and say, let your words be few. Everything don't need a response. And I shut my mouth. When I've done something to harm somebody, he make me go back because it don't sit right in my spirit today. I don't want to have to duck, dodge, or avoid anybody or have any resentments build up. He would make me go back and set it right. And it's up to the individual whether or not they want to accept my apology. It's up to the individual whether or not they want to move forward in the relationship. But he made sure I do my part. So whenever I see you now, I don't have to avoid you. I don't have to walk over on the other side of the street. I don't have to look in another direction. I can smile at you and say, hey, how you doing? Now it's up to you on if you speak. But that's how the God of my understanding works with me. So I'm grateful for the program of Narcotics Anonymous for introducing me to who he actually is, giving me a longing in my heart for me to discover who he is and how he has been working in my life all these years. I thank God for the mother that I had, the grandmother that I had, that prayed for me, kept scabs on their knees, and kept trusting God in the midst of it all. It took 30 years of their prayers. And sometimes I could be sitting in the dope house and I know they had to have been the one praying for me because I wouldn't be able to get high. I'd be so agitated and so frustrated. And I believe it was because of the prayers that they was praying on me. Thank God for my mother. Because see, I didn't get to choose who she was. God did that. See, there's some things the program can't do. I ain't get to choose my siblings. God did that. The biological ones as well as y'all. This is in treatment, they would call it a forced acquaintance. But see, now we came to this convention by choice because that's what we wanted to be today. strangers with the same dilemma, with the same disease, looking for relief, looking for guidance, looking for unconditional love, and searching for a God of our understanding, whatever that may look like for you. I just pray that the God that I serve would touch the God that you serve and bring us all together. Thank you for letting me share.
Woo! Yes. My name is Kim, and even after that, I'm still an addict. I really would like to thank our two speakers for taking time today to, oh my God, bring something to light to me and bring something back into my memory that I may have lost touch with, because y'all both did both of those things. I got chills. Okay, so I have someone who has volunteered to read We Do Recover.
My name is Woody. I'm a Greek recovering addict.
Hey, Woody.
We do recover. When at the end of the road, we find that we can no longer function as human beings, either with or without drugs. We all face the same dilemma. What is it? There seems to be this alternative. Either go on as best we can to the bitter ends, jails, institutions, or death, or find a new way to live. In years gone by, very few addicts ever had this last choice. Those who are addicted today are more fortunate. For the first time in man's entire history, a simple way has been proving itself in the lives of many addicts. It is available to us all. This is a simple, spiritual, not religious program known as Narcotics Anonymous.
Thank you.
You're welcome, dear. Okay.
Okay. So now we're going to close the meeting with the third step prayer. If everybody would like to stand, I think we'll have a really hard time making a circle, but we had a really hard time doing a lot of stuff and we made it anyway. So I'm going to let y'all call. There we go. We didn't let obstacles get in our way before. Tell me I'll do it twice. Do you not want to?
No, I'm fine.
Oh, okay.
No, I was trying to open a little I got you.
Okay. I'm going to ask for a volunteer to lead us in the third step prayer.
My name's Leanne and I'm an addict.
Hey, Leanne.
Let this circle represent what we can do together that so many of us have died trying to do alone. As many of us have said, take over my will and my life, guide us in our recovery, and show us how to live clean.
Thank you. Oh,